The White House, front page of the Wall Street Journal today, set to announce new sanctions against Iran, the first since the president's controversial nuclear agreement with Iran was reached in July. The planned action is directed at nearly a dozen companies and individuals in Iran, Hong Kong, and the United Arab Emirates that had roles in the development of the Iranian ballistic missile program. Joining me now is former United Nations U.S. spokesman and Fox News contributor Richard Grenell. Rick, great to see you. What do you make of this development? Do you think it's a big deal, or is it empty?
You know, it's so puzzling why the Obama administration is going to sanction Iran for testing multiple tests of a ballistic missile, but yet we're going to continue to give them billions of dollars next month, and we're going to continue to trust them that they're going to come clean on this nuclear deal. It's actually absolutely crazy. Senator Coons, a Democrat from Delaware, says that we're sanctioning Iran because of their destabilizing behavior. Except Senator Coons also voted for the Iran deal and says the Iran deal should go forward and we should next month give them $100 billion. So we're going to sanction them, but we're going to also give them $100 billion. Who's running our foreign policy?
Rick, where do the allies fit into all this? Because they were part of the deal, our European allies. They wanted to do business with Iran, too. And even if the Iranians are annoyed at the U.S. sanctions, they're still going to do business with our European allies. Does the U.S. have any leverage left with them when it comes to these or other further sanctions, or is that just all over?
I mean, it's a really good question because the Europeans have always been the leaks for us whenever we try to implement a policy to really sanction, and you know, you look at what we're trying to do to Putin. The Europeans have never been able to kind of follow up and play the tough guy. They've always been the weakest link, so to speak. And so it's an ongoing problem. What I did find being at the State Department for 8 years is that when you articulate a tough policy and you're very firm on this is where we're going and this is what we expect the Europeans to do, you can hold them for a pretty substantial amount of time. There's a lot of hand-holding that has to be done. You've got to constantly use diplomatic leverage from other entities at Treasury or Commerce or Agriculture. But it's really key to stay on the Europeans because together, obviously, we're much better. U.S. sanctions on a company alone, you know, they're not going to hold very firm because, as you say, you can go around us via the Europeans, especially when it comes to financial or banking.
So, Rick, we get this news on these sanctions against entities who are helping with the ballistic missile program. At the same time, we had Tehran testing unguided rockets near an American aircraft carrier and French warships in the Strait of Hormuz in the Persian Gulf. And what do? Nothing.
And
right?
they violated the travel ban earlier. The international advisors to the Supreme Leader violated the travel ban, and yet we just don't do anything about it. I mean, look, I think that one thing that I learned with being at the UN with John Bolton is that you've got to have very quick reaction. When the Iranians first test a ballistic missile back in October, immediately call a UN Security Council emergency meeting. Bring everyone together and throw down a resolution that says this entire deal is threatened. What we have is, you know, Washington kind of pretending that we're going to move forward and we're going to slap their hand, and then Samantha Power, our U.S. ambassador to the UN, issues a statement that literally says you violated the deal. Well, I'm not sure how you can violate the deal without throwing the whole deal off. And this is what we've constantly had from the Obama administration, is that nothing, they're like Donald Trump, nothing sticks when it comes to foreign policy.
Right. Rick, it was great to see you, as always. Thank you so much for taking the time. Early hours
Thanks,
for
Dagen.
you on this New Year's Eve.
Happy
Rick
New
Grenell.
Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. I hope to see you a whole lot in 2016.